Hello and welcome to EVTV Ireland. Today we are interviewing Cyrille, who has the new Renault Zoe ZE50. So because of COVID, we are doing the interview outside of the car and not inside the car and try to respect the social distancing. So Cyrille, welcome.
Welcome.
Can you tell us first, why did you buy a Renault Zoe?
Well, actually, it's my second Renault Zoe, and I've sort of upgraded to the ZE50 to actually have a longer range and having a new car that probably will allow me to actually have a longer trip, really, to visit Ireland, really.
Yes. So the first one was a 22 kilowatt hour.
That's correct. Yes.
And how long did you keep it for?
That would have been just 1 year, really.
Okay.
So yeah, just got the car when I moved into Ireland, really.
Yeah.
Ultimately, when I got the first car, I knew that there were actually models that were actually going to be improved. So I already had in mind to actually come and buy the larger battery size, really.
Yeah.
So as soon as it came out and was announced, just went out to the dealership and
yes,
make the reservation, really.
Yes, because they were launched. They were delivered in Ireland only since like March or April, so just
that's correct. Received notification that the cars were actually delivered in Ireland mid-March, which coincided with the beginning of the lockdown, really. So I had to wait another 2 months, really, to get hold of the cars. And,
okay. So you have it only for the last few weeks, couple of months.
Pretty much, yeah. A couple of months, yeah.
And so, before those two electric vehicles, what was the last car you had before?
That would have been a long time ago.
Yeah.
I came to Ireland from London, so in London I didn't have a car. So the last car I would have had before would have been a Ford Fiesta back in late 1990s.
Okay, that's very long time. So that was a big change for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So, can you tell us, I mean, the Fiesta was so long ago that it's a bit difficult to compare, but we can compare this one to the previous Zoe you've had. So far, what's the progress compared to the previous version? What do you like in this one compared to the other one?
There's quite a lot, really, to be honest. I think that the range is the first thing. So in terms of technology, really, we're talking about a battery size that's twice the old one, but the range is almost 3 times. So in terms of consideration for how often I need to charge a car, it's just basically
tripled.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Well, sort of cut out in half or more, really. So definitely more convenience, really. And yeah, I think that definitely with what I intend to do in terms of doing long journeys, really, that's definitely more convenience, really. Although I got used to the planning, really, of organizing a long journey and making sure that there's enough brakes to be able to actually recharge the batteries, really.
Yes.
So the other thing is obviously the engine is actually more powerful. So
that's the R135.
It is, yes. Driving, most of the time I do my driving in eco mode, really, driving in the city or just for the commute, ready to work. But as soon as you get onto the faster road, really, turning off the eco mode, you can definitely feel the additional power that we get, really, and never actually feel that there is not enough power to take over things like that, really. So,
what would be the longest trip you've done?
With this car, I haven't actually driven too much, really.
Yeah, not yet.
With the old one, it would have been a trip to Killarney. So we see that car had
from Cork.
Sorry.
From Cork.
From
just
Cork.
For people watching us, you're based in Cork.
So pretty much that was the limit of and the journey was actually fine to actually have, starting from a full charge.
Yeah.
There wasn't any issue about reaching Killarney and reaching the charge points over there. So there's definitely a bit of a relief with this car that actually has 3 times the battery capacity, really, so that I can expand the type of trips I can actually do.
I believe with this car you can go to Killarney, do the Ring of Kerry and back
Pretty
to Cork.
much.
I think you can.
Pretty much,
I
think that I've only charged it to the max once, and the expected range was about 350 kilometers, really. And I think that with this car and the previous one, I think that the range with the Renault that we actually get on display tend to actually be fair to what we can actually generally expect to actually achieve, really. So
That's great. So how do you typically use your car? What's your driving pattern? Commute. Do you have a commute at the moment?
At the moment, I'm still working from home, so so the car is mostly parked, and it's just basically the weekly the weekly shopping, really, basically. So I can't really say too much in terms of driving pattern, really, at the moment. But otherwise, it would be sort of 15-20 kilometers one-way commute to work, and with option of taking the fast roads or the small driving experience in towns, really. I think that one of the other things I found as an improvement with these new cars, the B mode on the gear shift, which actually has improvement in the control of the car, and being able to not 100% have a one pedal driving experience, but still a fairly decent experience, and being able to limit the use of the brakes, really, and pretty much having a drive control that is quite decent, and a totally different experience than driving with a nice car, really, I would say.
Do you have a home charger?
I do have a home charger, yes. It wasn't, in my case, I already advised to the dealership that I had it installed separately, so it wasn't actually part of the deal buying the car.
So with this one, you didn't have it before?
I had it before. I had it installed back in November last year.
Okay.
So ultimately, I knew that I wanted to have a property where I had the capabilities to be able to charge at home, and considering the majority of the travel I will do would be the commute, basically the home charge point will actually cover for all of that, really.
So the convenience, anyway.
Exactly.
Very good. So is it a 7 kilowatt charge point, or I suppose?
Yes.
Yeah. How much did you pay for it, if it's not? Do you remember?
Well, the charger itself was about 700 euros.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there was the electrician installation, which was about 400 euros installation, and was able to actually obtain the SEI grant, which basically recovered 600 euros.
So it's 500 out of your pocket.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That really helps. So you don't really use public chargers anymore? I mean, locally at least.
No. Well, at the moment, the charge points in Cork City, they're still free of charge. So every now and then, I might just still use them.
Yeah.
But as soon as the pricing come into place, really, there wouldn't be any benefit, really, in actually using the main charge points, really.
So yeah, you've been using it on the around the city, those charge points.
Yeah.
They usually work fine anyway.
I've never had it, even with the old car. I never actually had any problem with charging. I mean, I've come to one charger once that wasn't actually operational, but there was flexibility of just moving the car 100 yards or so, and I never had any. Based on the fact that most of the charge I do is related to my commute, I don't necessarily have any issues really.
Never been stranded without...
No. I've managed to actually get to the red warning once, but I think that with the Renault, I was aware that there is actually a safety margin really. So the warning actually come, I think it was from about 5%, and then they stop telling you how much you got left really. So 5% can actually take you quite some distance really. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
with this one, you can do a lot with 5%.
Definitely.
That's quite good. What are the favorite things that you have in this car? What do you prefer about this car, especially compared to the previous Leaf? Zoe, sorry.
I think that definitely the peace of mind of the range is definitely to me it's not necessarily a question of peace of mind, it's a question of being able to actually go further, so that the planning I would do for the distance I could cover before, I can do exactly the same planning now to cover to actually go even further really, and to some extent I would not necessarily actually push beyond having journey that would extend to actually have one stop for top-up charging, and my destination would actually be at the end of that really. So definitely the range is definitely a great positive. I think that the styling that they've changed on the front of the car to me as well is a very much of a positive. I think it just it's in combination to the size of the engine as well, so that it's a bit more performing car, higher performing car. So definitely I like that as well.
Yeah. From 90 to 135 horsepower is a big gap.
Definitely. And as I said earlier, ultimately the driving experience, you can definitely feel that there is more power available for the drive.
Yes.
And in a way, what this has meant is that I'm less concerned about how I drive the car, and I tend to have shifted to focusing purely on the eco mode driving, to driving as I would have driven any other car before, really, with a manual gearbox, really. So so to me that definitely is a big change, really, and definitely a big benefit of this new car. So
it's still 22 kilowatt onboard charger with the AC, but this one has the CCS, so it's also correct. A bit better in terms of the charge point that you find on the road.
Yes, in terms of the speed of charging, I'm not too sure whether it would necessarily make a big difference, but it's more, as you said, the flexibility of which charge point I can actually find on the network, really. So I haven't actually experienced using the CCS system as yet, but definitely something I would definitely recommend, really, because I think that for longer journey, I think that the CCS would actually be the ideal solution, rather than just simply the 22 kilowatts.
Yeah. So just to remind the viewers, the CCS port is an option on the basic Zoe with the R110 motor, but it's standard on this one, which has the 135.
That's correct, yes.
In terms of feature, because this one is well equipped as well, it's the GT line, so that's the top of the range. Any features that you have in this one that you particularly like in the interior, for example?
Obviously the info system has definitely a better look. I think that there's probably room for improvement from the functions. I think that the old one, there was a piece of software that allowed to actually sort of monitor the consumption and try to actually see how the driving was actually comparing to past performance really. At the moment this is not actually available on this info system, so I'm hoping that Renault would actually
make an update
and make it available. Talking about update, actually the updates are actually taking place over the air, which is fairly convenient, so there's no messing about or downloading from the laptop and getting a manual plug-in with memory stick or that sort of things really. So definitely a bit of convenience really. And in terms of the interior, I think that the dashboard panel as well, that's definitely a lot of improvement because there's more, I think it's streamlined and there's more flexibility, so there's various options to flick between various displays, so that each person, depending on what they see as being relevant, they can actually make changes really to what they can actually display. So I think that it definitely is an improvement really. Other than that, I think that the comfort of the cabin, I don't think there's too much change really. The cup holders, maybe one thing
bigger.
that we can actually say.
Bigger. We all joke about the size of the original Zoe cup holders, you know. Just get an espresso cup in one of those. This is normal.
The overall look of the interior has definitely improved really. We can see that they've changed the type of materials that they've used.
Yeah.
So it definitely show a bit more style and a bit more. Although saying that the first one I had was a Zen version and had a light grey, whitish interior, and I quite liked it actually. Yeah. So other than the fact that the dashboard was mostly hard plastics and the likes, the overall design was still quite nice really. So as I said, it definitely looks like higher quality with this new model.
Yeah, that's what we see. And we will link as well the video of the Zoe. We reviewed that car a few months ago, so you can have a look at that, including the infotainment system. Let's talk about ICE cars. Would you ever go back to a petrol diesel car?
No.
No, you're over it now, it's okay?
Exactly. Ultimately, I definitely had it in mind that given that the technology is now here, having cars that actually consume petrol to me doesn't make any sense really. I think that the changes that we've seen over the past 2-3 years, so although I wasn't necessarily a car user at the time, the fact that my first Zoe was a 6 years old model and I've upgraded to a 2020 model, I was able to actually, in the space of the 6 months I had the cars, to actually experience the improvement in the technology. Yeah. So I don't see any argument to actually go back to ICE, and I would even say that I have strong arguments against hybrid as well personally, in terms of the ability of the electric engines really, which I think are very restrictive, and on the basis that the technology is there to actually cover for the limitations really. I definitely would never consider going back to ICE cars really.
Fair enough. So what would you say to someone looking into an electric vehicle? What would you tell them to convince them to go for it?
Well, it's obviously a conversation that actually takes place in a workplace with colleagues really, and the first thing I would say is that anyone that is in a 2-car household, they really don't have any arguments anymore not to have at least one of these 2 cars to be an electric. And I think that definitely the models that are coming out now, they definitely have the range, which seems to be the main concern of sort of the holdback of people actually changing from petrol to electric, and so I don't think that there's much of an argument anymore on these points. And the other thing I would say is that the driving experience is different, and it's almost more convenient, really. And so that I would definitely sell that as an argument to actually say, look, there's no messing about with pedal back and forth and gear changing, and you can have a smoother and still fun experience driving, really. So these would actually be sort of main point I would present.
Yeah, yeah. And last question I have for you: if somebody, one of your colleagues, for example, would like to go for an EV, and maybe considering the Zoe, what message would you give that to them regarding this car compared to other EVs, maybe?
It's probably a bit of a difficult question, not necessarily having compared to other car. I think that for me, the Renault Zoe, and when I had to make the decision, I had to actually sort of make a choice between, in terms of car sizes I was looking for, between the Peugeot 208 and the Renault Zoe. So sort of the arguments for me that made tilt to stay with Renault was the fact that, well, obviously I was already with a Renault, so sort of consistency, familiarity in a way, but potentially as well the fact that Renault have been on the market probably for a longer time. So I think in terms of the experience on how to actually manage
the technology.
The technology, I would say, yeah, and what we can actually experience from dealerships as well. So they've got probably more of a support to be able to, if there is any flaw, to actually fix kind of issues really that we may have. Yeah. So I don't know whether that's necessarily 100% valid, really, but that's definitely the one thing I had in mind, really. So.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Mm-hmm. All right, thanks a lot, Cyrille, for spending the time with us. Mm-hmm. I hope you liked this video. Ask questions if you still have them in the comments below, and we hope to see you very soon. Thank you.